Hello, welcome to the Rankers. I'm Kyle, and with me tonight is Stuart. How are you, Stuart?
Kyle, right, you son of a bitch. I am great. And we're doing this in visual form as well, which is pretty cool.
Well, we're attempting it, so knowing our luck, it'll completely bomb, and we'll have to do this all over again. But we'll see how we go.
Wow. Two take Kyle, they call you. Or at least if we're talking about tonight, eight take Kyle.
That's it. That's so true.
Hmm.
All right. So, apologies for the radio silence that we've had for the last couple of months, but busy lives equals less podcasting than we'd like to do. But here we are tonight on November the 26th, 2023, and we are here to finally reimagine our Be Here Now album, going back to the roots of our pilot episode on ranking Oasis songs. And the often maligned Be Here Now, my favorite Oasis album. And I know one that Stuart loves to criticize, but we're here and we are making it better.
Indeed. I was sort of interesting. I was thinking about an annual award that I give out that I started around 2018. So retrospectively, Be Here Now would probably get this award. And it's an award I created called the Jerrys, which is in honor of Jerry Maguire, of which the film came out maybe just before Be Here Now. So Be Here Now could actually be the inaugural winner of this. And so I named it after the titular character of Jerry Maguire for the based on the quote that Renee Zellweger's character uses, which about Jerry, which is, "I love him for the man he wants to be, and I love him for the man he almost is." And so this award goes out to the album that to me fell short of greatness, but not through a lack of trying. And that to me sums up the essence of at least my view of Be Here Now. They certainly swung for the fences and then swung for all the fences, which
Indeed.
You have to applaud them for.
Oh, absolutely. I actually went into this with an open mind because, as it's my favorite album, it was really hard to think about songs that I was going to cut from it. There were a couple I was like, no, I can understand why people don't like these songs on the album. And so, again, had to listen to Master Plan, which is a lot of the B-sides from that era. And
Yep.
back listening to Master Plan, not as solid as I remember it being. And measuring up to some of those Be Here Now, particularly the better songs off that album. So it was an interesting process and one I really enjoyed. I mean, who doesn't enjoy going back and listening to 90s Oasis songs?
Yep.
But I didn't think I would have as many Be Here Now songs on my reimagined list as I ended up getting.
Yeah, well, you're probably going to be in for a rude shock because what I decided to do was so for the listeners and the viewers out there, we said Be Here Now could essentially be made up of the songs from the Be Here Now era, including its B-sides, but also any song that was a B-side for the first two albums. And instead, what I have done is limit it to just the Be Here Now era, which, knowing my history of this album,
yep,
doesn't really gel with what you may think. But I know we allowed ourselves open slather to any B-side, and interestingly, I agree with you in a way with Master Plan, and it's not necessarily what's on the album. It's the B-sides that they didn't use for Master Plan.
You mean and Be Here
Now? No, for as in the B-sides from from the first two albums that weren't on, that didn't make Master Plan. So things like Step Out and Round Our Way and things like that, and which I think could have made Master Plan even better, even though it was really just a contractual obligation thing, particularly for anyone in the UK. But those outside of where we didn't get all the singles, or if we did, they were on very expensive imports. Having Master Plan was sort of like this gift from heaven a year after Be Here Now. Anyway, so yeah, I decided just to focus on the Be Here Now era B-sides.
Yeah.
plus what's on the album, plus something else a little extra for you.
All right, excellent. Well, I'm not sure how far back mine go out, but we'll see how we go. And anyway, interesting. I was looking at something that came up on my Facebook feed the other day about Noel talking about the song master plan, and everyone was saying to him at the time, "You should leave this for an album." He said, "I can't wait 2 years to release this song," so put it out on the master plan album, which I found very interesting.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
It's sickening how good the quality of everything that was out in those first 4 or 5 years. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yep. Unfair.
Mm.
All right, let's get started then, eh?
Yeah. So
you go.
Ahead. Yep. No, you explain for the listeners.
So usually what we do here on the Reg is we rank downwards, I would say. So if we were doing a top 10, we'd go from 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way through to 1. But on this occasion, because it's something a little bit special and something a bit different, we're actually going to start from the start of the album. So we're going to give out track 1s, explain why we're giving them our track 1s, and then moving all the way through to the final track. I've got 11 tracks on my album. Stuart has 10. That's a debate for another topic on the perfect amount of songs for an album. Interestingly, I've been able to cut off, I think, 8 minutes from the original Be Here Now length of the album.
Right.
I've cut it down from an hour 12 to an hour 4, I think. So
okay, and I've, according to the Spotify playlist that I've put together, it's 57 minutes. That being said, if this is not including any additional edits that I would make to lengths of songs, which obviously
I've got a few comments on that as well.
Yeah. So that should be interesting.
All right. Well, why don't you kick us off, Stuart, with your number 1?
Sure.
Your first track.
First track. Yeah, track 1, which I would imagine is also the same track 1 as you, and the same track 1 as the original album is Do You Know What I Mean? Now I've actually gone. It's not for you, okay?
No.
Okay, so I've gone with the particular version of it, which is the NG's Rethink, I think it's called, version. So when it was reissued for its in and around the 20th anniversary, when they did the Chasing the Sun vinyl series, this was the one and only song which Noel went back to strip out quite a lot of the guitars and the multi layers that are on there. It's still a very busy song. Is it as busy as the original? No. It's probably a little bit more orchestral, and I chose that then because it's a nice tie-in to All Around the World, which, spoiler alert, is still on my album.
Why wouldn't it be?
Why wouldn't it be? Correct. And I think Noel said at the time that, and I used this in an essay that I wrote a couple of years ago, that essentially I went and redid Do You Know What I Mean, or at least remixed it. And then that's as far as I got. I couldn't be asked doing the rest. And I think I made the comment at the time that even Noel got tired of the album as much as I did. So that's why I chose it. It's a less busier version of Do You Know What I Mean? I think it's a real good table setting for the album. And to me, it still made sense to be at track 1. So that's why I've got it there.
Well, it's a great track 1, and I found it hard as well not to have it as my track 1. But I think when you hear what my track 1 was, I've got excellent reasons why it should be number 1. I've actually got Do You Know What I Mean as my second track. So I might talk about my first and then into my second, and then you can do your second.
Yeah.
How does that sound?
Perfect.
All right. So my track 1 is Acquiesce.
Yes.
I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, Acquiesce.
Yeah, my notes here. It starts with the Morning Glory acoustic intro. So I've got it there, number 1, because it's like a seamless transition from What's the Story, Morning Glory, into Be Here Now, essentially, with that Morning Glory acoustic intro. It's also got the brothers singing together, bringing that Britpop sound together. We need each other, we believe in one another, all that sort of stuff. So that is why I have Acquiesce as my number 1 track. Do you have it on your album?
I do not know. And I'm as I mentioned, I've limited mine to just the Be Here Now era, which Yeah, which means my version isn't going to be as much of a reimagining as yours, but we'll see how we go.
Hey, makes for two great playlists.
It does, yeah. And so you've got acquiesce into Do You Know What I Mean?
Yes, I do, but
Yep.
what have I got here?
Normally people
Yeah,
put
so
on their glasses to read stuff, Kyle. I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
Is your glasses up close? You need to.
I've got short sightedness, so
Sure.
I've got the glasses to see far away.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah.
To read, they're not bifocals, so
Right.
it's more easier to read with my natural eyes. Anyway, moving on. So if I was to do you know what I mean, as a second track, I'd probably get rid of that, whatever airplane, helicopter noise, whatever's at the front, and just go, straight that the guitar riff into it. So, and how could you not have the Be Here Now album without that song? I mean, it was such a big wall of sound, that song, and the whole album is just this massive wall of sound, which I think is why I like it so much. But yeah, you've mentioned a lot about it already, but cut off that start to it, I reckon, coming out of acquiesce into Do You Know What I Mean?
Yep. No, that's great. And look, I think the fact that it was just such a wall of sound, which I don't mind if it's Phil Spector producing it, gun in hand or otherwise. By about track 3, track 4, when I first listened to it, I just had to have a lie down. It was just too much, which is why I have taken out. Now, what is it? My Big Mouth is usually track 2, or is track 2 on the actual album. I've gone with the B side from Do You Know What I Mean? Stay Young, which is a jaunty poppy tune, which I think was in. I remember being featured quite heavily in a late 90s horror film called The Faculty.
Yes,
which is about teachers becoming
that's
zombies.
a pretty fun movie.
Yeah. Probably what inspired you to become a teacher, Carl.
Maybe.
or maybe not.
School of Rock.
School of Rock, correct. I remember absolutely loving the Do You Know What I Mean single, because the song was great, but it had their version of Hero by Bowie, and also a demo song called Angel Child, which was fine, but pretty much a throwaway, unless you've got
before you move on, that version of Heroes is an underrated cover version, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it was probably outstripped at the time, and I think, if I'm getting my chronology right, the Wallflowers did a version of it for the Godzilla soundtrack, and I don't know if that was in and around the same year. I'm not sure
if it was the Wallflowers or Dylan.
Jacob Dylan on his own.
Jacob Dylan on his own, yeah. Either or.
But either way, I think it was one of the many songs that came off the Godzilla soundtrack as a sort of a marketing ploy, and I think if, like, I've read things where they've suggested Hero should have been on the album, but I don't think Noel was up for
on Be Here Now.
Yeah,
okay.
As a bonus track or whatever. But anyway, so Stay Young at number 2. It's a nice gear shift from the wall of noise or wall of sound that is Do You Know What I Mean? And I have a feeling maybe it was the second song on the single, so probably that's why I've gone back to it. But yeah, that's why I chose. And also, if you think about Morning Glory with Roll With It at number 2, which is a bit more of a throwaway number. I never understood why they push Roll With It as a single for Morning Glory, but I liked it as a track too. So yeah, I thought Stay Young was a nice comparison there.
Yeah, cool. All right, and while you're at it, your number 3, the third track on your album.
Yeah, so my number 3 is Stand By Me, which from memory is track 4 on the actual album.
Yeah, I've kept it at 4 on mine.
Okay, so I've brought it to 3, mainly because I see it as the big single from it, and most albums have the big single at 3. And so you got Live Forever, is it Wonderwall is 3 on Morning Glory. And once again, back to an old quote, I think from the Definitely Maybe doco, where someone said to him, well, Live Forever should be track 3 because that's where the big single is, and he said, what the fuck are you on about? I just put songs where I think they should be. And he had this guy from A&R rep sort of telling him, well, track 3, that makes sense. As if there was some grand unifying theory to how all this is done. But Stand By Me makes sense there. Like I said, I think it's one of the strongest songs on the album. Probably needs about a 50-second edit on it at the back end. It sort of feels like it crescendos and then goes on again, and it's like, well, we could probably get the radio edit version on this. But yeah, that's my track 3. It's probably yeah.
Well, going back to a cricket term, you always have your best batsman coming in at number 3, don't
you? Correct. Yeah, first drop.
That's it. I've kept My Big Mouth on my Be Here Now album. It was one of the ones I thought I would drop off it, but after re-listening to it, it's just such a fun song. It's got that wall of sound as well. So rather than going for the single, I'm just continuing the wall of sound. Now, I had it ranked 49th when I did my rankings.
Yep.
And I had Do You Know What I Mean as my 24th and Aqueous as my 12th. So although it's kind of the higher point of my rankings, I think for this album it was one of the better songs that wasn't the top class songs of the Be Here Now anyway. And I think if memory serves correct, it actually made the cut at Nebworth.
Oh, really?
One of the 2 Be Here Now songs that they played, either the first or second night. I can't remember which night. Okay. So that's made it for me. Then I've gone for Stand By Me as my 4th song. For me, I think it's the perfect spot on the album. Still has that wall of sound, but it hang on, and what have I got? And last album that Noel had a track at 4. I don't know why I've made that a comment, but anyway. Hang on, I'm looking at the wrong one. So I had Stand By Me as 25th on my original rankings, so just after Do You Know What I Mean? But yeah, so you've already mentioned a lot about that song. Really, it is one of the standout songs from the album, and clearly one of the better singles from that little period Oasis had in the late 90s.
Yep, absolutely. So my track 4 is probably a song I reckon you have maybe cut, which is I Hope I Think I Know.
You'd be correct.
Yeah. So which I think on the actual album just follows Stand By Me from memory. And I like that that sort of that 1-2 punch of really great strong single, and then yet another sort of a throwaway. The one thing that this album doesn't have is a She's Electric or a Diggs.
Hello?
If you stumble, then catch me when I fall, or if I stumble, catch me when I fall. I always quite like that. So it was going to be a hard time tearing that away from the album for me.
Okay. I just lost you there for a bit, but I think we're back on track. And your number 5?
My number 5 is another B-side. I think the B-side from Stand By Me, which is Going Nowhere. So both Going Nowhere and Stay Young were on the Master Plan album from memory.
Yes, I'm pretty sure they were.
So that they were the 2 Be Here Now singles. Be Here Now B-sides that made the Master Plan. and that makes sense in that I think they're the two stronger B-sides from that era. I don't mind things like My Sister Lover and Flashback and the Fame, but I think these were the two stronger ones. I remember, particularly in the liner notes of Master Plan, there was this whole talking up of Noel's love of Burt Bacharach and Going Nowhere, having that Bacharach sort of jaunty organ vibes, and sure, that makes sense. But I think, given that I've given Magic Pie the Arse on my album, I needed a Noel song on here, a Noel sung song, and Going Nowhere I think was one of the better ones of that period, and a nice reflection of it. I can't recall the origins, but I'm imagining it was one of the earlier songs he wrote and sort of had in his back pocket, given the what the themes of that song are. Basically being stuck in Manchester, working for the electricity board or the water board he was working at, doing the roadie stuff for the Inspiral. So to have it on an album which is absolutely about fame and excess, I thought was a nice thing.
Yeah, well, that ties in well because my track 5 is Half the World Away.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was like you, it's about time for an old song on here. And I've also given Magic Pie the Arse as well. So I think it was between Going Nowhere and Half the World Away. It's actually one of my favorite Noel sung songs, especially from that era. And like the later songs, like Importance of Being Idle, it tells a great story as well. It's got that little, story behind it as well, which I always love in songs, having a bit of a story to them. And just really nice acoustic number. And I think this period in particular, Noel had a real a lot of emotion in his vocals. Particularly with Don't Look Back in Anger and the one you mentioned as well. And he just does a really good job of singing on these ones. I mean, some of his later solo stuff in particular kind of lacks that emotion, probably because he's doing all the singing, whereas he could put, when he only had 1 or 2 tracks on an album, he could put all of his energy into those vocals as such. Which I think is why his solo stuff after his first couple of albums doesn't appeal to me as much as his sung stuff in Oasis anyway.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So yeah.
So Half a World Away for you. So my next track, what are we up to? Track 6 for me. This is where I put My Big Mouth. And the reason I did it was I thought it was a nice juxtaposition with Going Nowhere. So Going Nowhere is I'm stuck in a rut. I wouldn't mind Fame or a day. Is it Day Away or a Day in Spain? But with my Big Mouth, that's pretty much the other side of the coin, which is celebrity hedonism, getting yourself in the papers for all the wrong reasons, saying stuff for pull quotes in magazines, all that sort of stuff. And I always liked the song, but as I said, on the original run, it just felt like it was too much at track 2 for me. And I needed that sort of spacing, and I think it helped with the sequencing to have a bit further back in the mix. So Going Nowhere into My Big Mouth.
Okay, cool. My number 6, I've gone with the title track, Be Here Now, because I've come out of Noel's Half the World Away, time to kick it up a gear again. For me, it's the most fun song on the album. And when I went to see Liam at Falls Festival, I think it was the year COVID hit, maybe year before, and he played this as part of his set for it was the first time I'd seen him solo, and Pissing Down with Rain. And such a fun song to sing along to. I think it's the one I danced to the most there. I really love this song off the album, and I was never going to leave it off. It was just about where it would go. I really like where it is on the actual album, like track 9, right between, I think it comes after
Don't Go Away,
fade in, fade out, and Girl and Dirty Shirt, Don't Go Away. So the slower side of songs, and then it kicks the album back up again to finish it off.
Yep.
So I think if this was to be a vinyl, this would probably be the last song of side A. Pump it over, turn it over. Let's get ready for side B sort of thing.
Yep.
Did it make the cut for your album?
It did, yeah. And I'll explain why a little bit later. So track 7 for me is the Curveball, and like I said, I did keep it to the Be Here Now era.
Yeah.
And I've got here only because a recorded version doesn't exist on Spotify, or at least a version that I'm after. So the placeholder here is Setting Sun by the Chemical Brothers, which is the Noel vocal single from their 96 albums. This would have come a year before Be Here Now, and a year after Morning Glory. So this was sort of at the height of Oasis mania. So it would have been the same year as that they did Nebworth, from memory.
Yeah.
And it pretty sure it hit #1 in the UK as well. But the version that I would have loved is not actually Noel singing it, but Liam singing it. And obviously strip away the whole Chemical Brothers beats. There is a demo of it on YouTube, and we'll probably try and put it in the notes, back when it was called Coming On Strong. And so there is a version for about 92, 93 of Liam singing it. It's a very rough band version of it. But I would really love to hear a Be Here Now version, or Be Here Now era version of it. I think there is on the Be Here Now deluxe edition that I spoke to. I think there's an acoustic version of Setting Sun. If there isn't, I may be making that up entirely. I can't recall. And he's done it a couple of times for radio programs, just doing an acoustic version. But I would have loved to have heard. Like I said, there is a version of Liam singing it with the band, but having a decent drummer instead of McCarroll, and the Be Here Now sound doing Setting Sun or Coming On Strong, whatever you want to call it, I think would have been pretty cool. So that's my track 7.
Okay, not overly familiar with that song, but that is a decent curveball you've sent in there. All right, well, my 7 is Don't Go Away. What have I got? Too good of a song not to have on the album, and is a perfect point to have a sing-along time. Be Here Now. Probably with Stand By Me is probably one of the better singles from the album.
Yep.
It's interesting with this album because they had their wall of sound songs, and then when it came to their ballads, they couldn't just be ballads. They had to be, ballad, like excessive ballads with, again, that wall of sound, I guess. But yeah, so that starts my side B, I guess, of my album.
Yep. I have that next. So that's my track 8 for Be Here Now. Stand By Me. Sorry, not Stand By Me. Don't Go Away. When I wrote at the time, I'm just bringing it up. So I also think they made a mistake with their choice of singles, although it was only released as the 4th single in Japan only. Don't Go Away is the best tune on the album, and for me was strangely overlooked at the time. Is it a little mawkish? Sure, but you know what is it? What it isn't? It isn't 9 minutes long, and that is a relief for everyone. It also contains one of Liam's best vocal performances, on par with Slide Away, and that is something that gets lost when we look back on that era. As I said, retconning Don't Go Away as, say, the 2nd single doesn't save Be Here Now, but it provides a different viewpoint on an album derided for doing too much. Perhaps it didn't do enough. I think this is just a phenomenal song. It's my favorite song on the album, and it was not going anywhere. It was firmly entrenched, but I still like it at the back end, because I think by and large Be Here Now ends quite strong. So that's why I've got it there.
So you've got it at 8?
Yeah, I've got it at 8. Don't Go Away. Yep.
So what's your 7?
My 7 was Setting Sun.
Setting Sun, that's right. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. Your 9?
My 9.
Oh,
Well,
I got to give my 8, don't I?
yes, yeah.
All right. So I don't think this is from the Be Here Now era, but I've got Whatever.
No, well, whatever was that standalone single before Morning Glories, before the Morning Glory singles.
Yeah. So what
Yep.
I understand, it was their Christmas song.
Yep.
If that makes any sense.
Yep.
On my comments here, I've got, how did this song not ever make an album? Like, it's such
Yep.
an awesome song.
Yep.
So, in the spirit of this, I haven't gone exactly with the criteria that you've gone with. And it's a perfect spot here as we land major punches on the back end of my B-side of the album. So just a great song with the orchestrals, and again, another great performance from Liam on vocals.
Yep.
And again, I can't say it how criminal it is that it didn't even make a proper album for Oasis.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so like similar to great groups like the Beatles, if you've ever heard of them, and the Smiths, where they'd have I shouldn't have done that whilst you're drinking, where they'd release singles and they wouldn't be on the album, and that's a perfect example. Great song. So what I decided to do was I kept the same run as in the first album. So I've gone Don't Go Away into Be Here Now. You've spoken about that, the title track. I think to me, it's a song that gets better and better every time I hear it. I probably dismissed it when the album first came out, but I think it's a really great tune. And I might as well just round out mine with my. So I finished the album with All Around the World. Probably not the length of the song that is on there.
Oh, maybe, that's criminal.
Maybe you want to add more minutes, I know. So yeah, my. Don't Go Away into Be Here Now, into All Around the World. Great tune, absolutely sums up the excessiveness of this album. And I'll hand it over to you because no doubt you've got plenty more to say about it. But to me, that's 10 tracks. It's under an hour. That's doable for me. We can park the how many tracks should be on an album to another discussion. But if that was the album, those 10 songs, I think I would have had different feelings for it.
Oh, great album. All right. So at 9, I've got Round Our Way.
Yep.
So I said, let's keep this train a rolling. This is a cracker of a song, and much like Whatever, absolutely criminal, it did not make an album either. Probably one of, if not my favorite B-sides from Oasis. I think I remember it in a Ewan McGregor, Cameron Diaz movie. When he's walking back to the house and he's humming or singing along to Round Our Way, and I think it is the credits on that movie as well. So I rolled that into Master Plan, which is my number 10. Noel's best ever lead vocal song, and this again, being on an album, Rivals Don't Look Back in Anger, in my opinion, I ranked it 5th on my list of Oasis songs. I've already spoken a little bit about Master Plan, but an absolute awesome song. And again, criminal, it didn't make an album either. And then I finish off with All Around the World. How could you not? I love this song, is well known. You didn't think I would leave the song off the album, did you? Given it was one they were rehearsing well before the album, shows why this must be the closing track of the album. And of course, I ranked it number 3 all time in Oasis songs. So even at its 2,000-minute length, it is such a cracker of a song.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, then to have It's Getting Better Man on the original version, and then just the sheer balls to go, let's have a reprise of the last, of a song that went 10 minutes or 12 minutes or however fucking long it goes for. Great tune, but just rein it in a bit, please.
See, they must have been like me, and once the chorus comes out, you just don't want to stop singing it. So, for me, the album would still be going with the chorus of All Around the World.
Indeed. Now I'm thinking we're going to have to wrap it up because we've got a certain time limit on this.
Yeah, I can see that time at
Oh, really? It's coming down, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got
Well,
3 minutes,
game.
20 seconds left.
Quick game's a good game. It is. I've really liked this exercise. I know it's not technically ranking, although we are ranking how an album should be. So there's that. There's many ways to rank things, and sometimes it's putting things in the right order. And I think we should consider doing this for something else.
I even got my Be Here Now tour shirt out for it.
I've well noticed.
It's still together, still going.
Yeah. I'm disappointed that you're not recording this whilst on a international flight, harassing the flight stewards. Disappointing.
Yes.
As you're smoking Benson and Hedges.
Hey, I did punch a photographer on the way here, though.
Oh,
on the way home.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with my down payment on my next load of cocaine from my dealer. So we've all got problems, mate. We've all got problems.
Well, apparently, one of us is getting enough money now to buy a car because we can't drive, and the other one's getting a fancy watch and they can't tell a time. So
perfect. Love those guys. Get back together, guys.
Oh, come on. Surely it's got to happen.
Yeah.
And I guess, we got a minute and a bit before we get cut off. What are your thoughts on Liam doing the Definitely Maybe tour?
Oh, well done to him. He might as well. He sings all the songs on that album, doesn't he?
He does. He does.
Well, then,
and he's going to do B-sides from that album as well.
Look, maybe instead he can employ John Oates, Daryl Hall's partner, who apparently has he's got a restraining order against him. Just John Oates can play guitar, not as good as Noel, but maybe employ him. That'll be a nice little spin on the pop star spats.
Well, apparently Bonehead's doing the tour with him, who was with him before he had a little cancer scare there.
Right.
But apparently Liam has invited Noel to be part of the tour, and so far Noel's declined.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
My only question is, will the tour make it to Australia, which would be great to see.
That'd be good. Look forward to that.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on this journey with us. We really hope you've enjoyed our rankings of our reimagined Be Here Now. Of course, any comments you have, please send them through on our socials. And hopefully it's not as long between podcasts for our next episode. Anything you'd like to finish off with there, Stuart?
Listen to more Oasis.
Can't be bad for you.
No. All right, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And
cheers.
Hope to see you soon.